The house that ate its guests. There is a house on the edge of the city that nobody admits to seeing, though everyone knows it's there. It has no address. The streets bend strangely around it, as if afraid to touch its walls. At night, windows appear where there were none, and curtains flutter even when the air is still. People whisper that if you step inside, you won't come back out the same, or at all. The invitation. One evening, 5 strangers received letters in their mailboxes. The paper was damp, smelling faintly of mold, and written in red ink that refused to stay still. The words slid across the page like worms, rearranging themselves each time they were read. The letters all said the same thing. Come for dinner at the house on the edge of the city. The menu is you. Most would burn such a letter, or laugh, or ignore it, but all 5 felt the same pull, as if something had hooked their hearts and was reeling them in. So they went. The arrival. The house greeted them politely. Its front door opened on its own, and the hall smelled of wet stone and roasted meat. The wallpaper pulsed faintly, like skin with veins beneath it. They heard the house's voice immediately, the low, vibrating hum that wasn't exactly words but more like thoughts forced into their skulls. Welcome, sit, eat. A dining table stretched the length of the room, covered in silver dishes, but the food was raw, bowls of hands, roasted and sprinkled with salt, plates of tongues curled like sausages. Glasses filled not with wine but with tears that shimmered like mercury. The 5 sat down anyway. The guests, each of them, began to change the moment they lifted a fork. The banker's teeth fell out, one by one, clicking onto his plate. When he tried to speak, money spilled from his mouth of coins, bills, promissory notes. He laughed and choked on them until his throat bulged. The schoolteacher's eyes rolled out of her sockets, bouncing into her soup. She picked them up and popped them back in, but each time they showed her a different reality, one where she was dead, one where she was a child, one where she had no body at all. The soldier's uniform melted into his skin, sewing itself into his flesh, metals embedded into his chest, bleeding gold. He saluted no one and wept blood. The artist's hands grew paintbrush bristles instead of fingers. Everything he touched turned into paintings: the chair, the plates, the other guests, but the paintings screamed as they dried. The 5th guest, a quiet man no one recognized, simply stared. His head swelled, growing larger and larger until the skin stretched thin. Inside his skull was not a brain but a window, and through it you could see a black ocean with things swimming just below the surface. The house begins to eat. The table groaned, the walls leaned closer, the chandelier above dripped wax that burned holes in the tablecloth. The guests tried to stand, but their chairs clamped down. Growing teeth that bit into their thighs, blood soaked the fabric. The house hummed again. Stay. Digest. Long. The food on the table began to move, climbing onto the plates. Hands crawled across dishes, tongues wriggled, eyes blinked. The banker screamed as his own severed hand appeared in front of him, roasted and steaming. The schoolteacher tried to run, but the wallpaper peeled itself off and wrapped around her, smothering her screams until only muffled sobs remained. The endless corridors. The soldier smashed through the dining room wall with his bleeding fists, only to find another dining room waiting. Same table, same food, same guests. He screamed, ran through another wall, and another, and another. Each time, a new dining room greeted him. He finally collapsed, realizing he was running in circles inside the stomach of the house. The artist painted a door on the wall and opened it. On the other side was a vast gallery of portraits and thousands of faces, screaming in silence. He realized they were all past guests of the house, captured forever in oils and pigments. The brush bristles on his fingers trembled. He would soon join them. The quiet man with the ocean in his skull began to laugh. The window in his head cracked, and water started pouring out, flooding the room. Dark shapes swam closer through the hole in reality. The house devours. As the water rose, the house opened its floor like a mouth. The table, the guests, the chandelier all slid into the gaping maw. Teeth as large as pillars ground everything into paste. The banker's coins clattered uselessly before being swallowed. The teacher's eyes floated, blinking in the dark water. The soldier saluted one last time before his body dissolved into bone. The artist dropped his brushes as his painted hands smeared into the walls. And the quiet man. He simply let the ocean spill out until he was nothing but an empty skull. The house burped. The lights went out. Aftermath: the next morning, the house looked perfectly normal again. Its windows clean, its door freshly painted. But if you pressed your ear to the walls, you could hear muffled chewing. And if you walked away, you might find a damp, red-stained letter in your pocket that whispered you were invited.